Rise and the growth of the Guptas. Objectives. After reading this unit, you shall be able to know about the political conditions in India at the beginning of the 4th century AD, familiarize yourself with the circumstances that led to the rise of Gupta power, know about the expansion and consolidation of the Gupta Empire, understand the order of succession of the Gupta rulers and their military exploits, and understand the process that led to the decline of Guptas. Introduction. In this unit, after briefly discussing the political situation of the 4th century AD, we go on to analyze the historical situation which led to the rise of the Gupta dynasty. The attempt here will be to give you a political outline of the period. We take into account the controversies relating to the succession of Gupta kings and at the same time discuss some of their achievements which made possible the formation and consolidation of the empire. Kings like Samudragupta, Chandragupta II, Kumaragupta and Skandagupta figure very prominently in the history of the empire. The unit also takes into account some of the problems faced by the Gupta kings and factors responsible for the decline of Gupta rule. Political background. In the beginning of the 4th century AD, no large state structure existed in India. You have read in blocks number 6-7 that in the post-modern period, two large state structures had emerged in North India and in the Deccan. These were the Kushana state of the north and the Satavahana state of the Deccan. But although the Kushanas and Saka chiefs continued to rule even in early 4th century AD, their power had become considerably weak, and the Satavahana state had disappeared before the middle of 3rd century AD. This does not, however, mean that there was complete political vacuum. There was no major political power, but there were minor powers and new families of rulers were emerging. It was in this situation that the Guptas, a family of uncertain origin, began to build up an empire from the beginning of the 4th century AD. Before we take up the history of this empire, we present an outline of the political situation of this period by taking up different regions separately. Northwestern and Northern India. Before the middle of the 3rd century AD, the rule of the Sasanians had been established in Iran, and the Sasanian rulers started claiming overlordship over Kushan kings. The mighty Kushan kings of northwestern India were reduced to the position of subordinates, and the Sasanian authority also extended to Sindh and certain other areas. However, a large number of coins which are based on early Kushan coins and are found in Afghanistan and Punjab suggest that several branches of rulers, some Kushan, continue to rule in the region. There are also the coins of Kedar Kushan and his successors in Afghanistan, Kashmir and Western Punjab, and it is possible that some of these rulers were contemporaries of the early Gupta rulers. In other parts of the Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan, old coins again point to the existence of a number of republican states. These were states which were not ruled by a single king, but possibly by several chiefs. It was only occasionally that one finds a chief claiming the status of the king of a clan. The Madras mentioned in the connection with the exploits of the Gupta ruler Samudragupta were located in the Punjab. The Yodhas were extremely powerful, with their centers in present-day Haryana, and the Malwas were located in Rajasthan. There were many other republican states like these, and some of them are even mentioned in the Gupta records. Several branches of Nagas who became very powerful in Mathura and other centers after decline of the Kushan power in North India are also known. Some of the North Indian rulers who were defeated by Samudragupta were definitely of Naga origin. Western and Central India. You have read in block 6 that a branch of Kshatrap rulers established themselves in Western India in the post-modern period. The line of Chastana, to which a well-known Saga Kshatrap Rudradaman belonged, continued to rule till 304 AD, and then a new line of rulers began to rule. However, Kshatrap rule came to an end towards the close of the 4th century AD when Gupta ruler Chandragupta II conquered and annexed their territories. In the region of ancient Vidarbha, the core of which was Nagpur in northeast Maharashtra, a new power had emerged by the middle of 3rd century AD. This power was that of Vagatakas, a new line of rulers started by Vindhya Shakti. Vagataka power soon became formidable, and a branch was also established at Vatsagulma, modern Basim in Akola district. The Vagataka family later on came into close contact with the Guptas, particularly after a matrimonial alliance was formed between the two families. The Deccan and South India. The decline of the Satavahana state of the Deccan was followed by the emergence of a number of new royal families in different parts of the Deccan. In coastal Andhra, there was a succession of families like the Ikshvakus, the Salankayanas and others. In Karnataka, the most important ruling family was that of the Kadambas. The Kadamba power was founded by Brahmin Mayur Sharman, whose Talagunda inscription gives some interesting details of the circumstances leading to the establishment of the kingdom and also some idea regarding its extent. The ruling family of the Pallavas, which became a formidable power in Tamil Nadu till the 9th century, is known from their records to have started ruling from the middle of the 3rd century AD. The inscription of the early Pallava rulers were written in the Prakrit language and were in the form of copper plates. They are generally assigned to the period between century 250 to 350 AD. Sivaskandarsman of this family, who ruled in the beginning of the 4th century AD, was a powerful ruler and his kingdom included parts of Andhra, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Kanchi or Kanchipuram in the Chingleput district of Tamil Nadu became the capital of the Pallavas. And when Gupta ruler Samudragupta led an expedition to the south, he encountered Pallava king Vismigop at Kanchi. The above sketch does not mention many areas and many ruling families, but only those who were contemporarily important. It must, however, be noted that in many areas like Bengal, Odisha, forest regions of Madhya Pradesh and erstwhile kingdoms were emerging for the first time. This was a new trend and was very significant for the later course of the political history. The rise of the Guptas. The ancestry and early history of the Gupta family are little known and have naturally given rise to various speculations. Names ending in Gupta, such as Shivagupta, which occurs in Satavahana inscriptions, are sometimes taken to suggest their ancestry. But these suggestions are rather far-fetched. Different scholars also place the original home of the Guptas differently. Some would place it in the North Bengal, some in Magध in Bihar, and some in UP. On the basis of following arguments, it may at the moment be suggested that the original core of the Gupta territory lay in eastern UP. Allahabad pillar inscription, the earliest inscription recording the achievements of an early Gupta ruler, Samudragupta, comes from this region. The name of the coin hoards of the Guptas found in this region suggests this. The description of early Gupta territory in the Puranas may point to this. It is possible that in the closing decades of the 3rd century AD, the Guptas were subordinate of the branches of the later Kushanas ruling in the northwestern India. However, literary and archaeological sources indicate that they became independent in the 2nd decade of the 4th century AD. Inscriptions tell us that Sri Gupta was the first king and Ghatotkach was the next to follow him. Chandragupta I was the first independent king with the title Maharaja-di-Raj. After declaring his independence in Magध, he, with the help of matrimonial alliance with the Licchavis, enlarged his kingdom. We now know about this alliance from a special category of coins. These coins have Chandragupta and his queen Kumara Devi engraved on the obverse and a seated goddess on the reverse with the legend Lichavya, that is Licchavis. These coins were made of gold, and this fact, in addition to the fact that Guptas followed the weight system of Kushan gold coins, suggests that the Guptas had been in contact with the Kushan territories. There are no concrete evidences to determine the boundaries of Chandragupta's kingdom, but it is assumed that it covered parts of Bihar, UP and Bengal. Chandragupta I is said to have also stated a new era from 319 to 320 AD. It is not clear from any records that he started this era, which came to be known as Gupta Samvat or Gupta era, but since Chandragupta I is mentioned as the Maharaja-di-Raj, he is credited with the founding of the era. It was during the time of his son Samudragupta that the kingdom grew into an empire. Samudragupta. An inscription engraved at a later date on the Ashokan pillar at Allahabad, known as Prayag Prashasti, gives us information about Samudragupta's accession and conquest. Hari Sen, an important official of the state, had composed 33 lines which were engraved on the pillar. The inscription mentions that Maharaja Adiraj Chandragupta I, in a highly emotional tone, declared his son Samudragupta as his successor. This caused joy among the courtiers and heart-burning among those of equal birth. It can be presumed that other princes might have put forward their contending claims, which were put to rest by this declaration. Further, the discovery of some gold coins bearing the name of Kacha has generated a controversy relating to this. The controversy has arisen because, in many respects, Kutch's coins are similar to the coins of Samudragupta. The name of Kutch does not appear in the official list of the Gupta rulers as they are available in the Gupta inscriptions. Various interpretations have been given in this regard. According to one interpretation, Samudragupta brothers revolted against him and placed Kutch, the eldest brother, on the throne. However, he died in the war of succession. Another view mentions that these coins were issued by Samudragupta in the memory of his brother. A third view mentions Kutch as the initial name of Samudragupta, and the later name was adopted only after the conquest of South. There is no solution to the controversy, as each view has arguments in favor or against. We could only say that, since the number of Kutch coins found so far is somewhat limited, his hold over the throne would have been for a very short duration. Also that Samudragupta, in spite of Chandragupta's abdication, did face problems in relation to accession to the throne, but ultimately he emerged victorious. Expansion and consolidation. For the expansion and consolidation of the Gupta power, Samudragupta adopted an aggressive policy of conquest. This initiated a process which culminated in the formation of the Gupta Empire. However, we have to take note here of the fact that in certain regions, particularly in the south, he let the kings, whom he had defeated, rule over their regions. Of course, they accepted his suzerainty and paid tributes. Such a policy adopted in relation to the far-flung areas might have paid dividends in solving problems of communication and effective control, hence bringing about stability for the time being. Let us briefly discuss the aggressive campaigns taken by Samudragupta in various regions. We may mention again that we come to know about all the campaigns of Samudragupta only from one record, the Prayag Prashasti of the Harisen. Campaigns of Aryavrat. Some historians are of the view that Samudragupta carried his victorious campaign of Aryavrat at one time. However, some other historians, assuming that the Prayag Prashasti mentions the conquest of Samudragupta in a chronological order, have opined that there were two campaigns in North India. This is because the Prashasti first mentions 3 Aryavrat kings, then it goes on to mention his southern campaign and again mentions 9 Aryavrata kings. It appears that, taking advantage of the war of succession which Samudragupta had to face, certain rulers attempted to establish their dominance. It might be in this context that Samudragupta defeated Achyut, Nagsen and Kota Kulaj. There are no details regarding these conquests or regarding the identity of the specific regions over which they ruled. However, historians have identified Achyut as ruling of Ahichhatra, Nagsen over Gwalior area and Kota Kulaj or ruler of the Kota family in East Punjab and Delhi. Though differences continue to prevail over this identification, it is clear that Samudragupta, after defeating them, established firm control not only over Ganga valley but also over some adjacent regions. Campaign in South. The Prayag Prashasti mentions 12 rulers from Dakshin Path or South India who were defeated by Samudragupta. These were Mahendra of Koshal, Vyagh Raja of Mahakantara, Mantar Raja of Kaurat, Mahendra Giri of Pishtapur, Swami Dutt of Kotura, Daman of Erandapalla, Vishnu Gop of Kanchi, Nilraj of Avamukta, Hasti Varman of Vengi, Ugrasen of Pallak, Kubeda of Devarastra, Dhananjay of Kushlapura. However, again, there are differences among historians as to the specific identifications of these kings and their kingdoms. The Prayag Prashasti says that Samudragupta showed favor to be Dakshin Path king by first capturing them, Grahan, and then releasing them, Moksha. He pursued a completely different policy with regard to the kings of Aryavrat or North India. He not only defeated them but also annexed their territories, which became integrated into the Gupta Empire. The North Indian kings defeated by Samudragupta were Rudradeva, Matila, Nagadatta, Chandravarma, Ganpatinag, Nagsen, Achyut, Nandi, Balavarman and others. It is impossible to identify all of them, but it is certain that they were ruling in different parts of North India. Some of them were obviously Nag rulers who had been powerful in southern regions, before the Guptas. Rulers like Chandravarma, who ruled in West Bengal, represented new ruling families. The Prashastis further says that Samudragupta reduces all states in the forest regions to the position of servants. In another category are mentioned the frontier kingdoms like Samatata in Southeast Bengal, Kamrup, Assam, Nepal in Nepal, and others, and the republican states of the Malwas, Yodhyas, Madrakas, Abhiraz, etc. They paid him tributes of all kinds, carried out his orders, and paid him homage. Rulers of another categories of states acknowledged his sovereignty in a different way. They pleased him by self-surrender, offering their own daughters in marriage and a request for the administration of their own districts and provinces. This means that they remained independent, but their independence had to be approved by Samudragupta. In this category were included the foreign rulers of northwestern India like the later Kushanas and the Saka chief and residents of different island countries including Simhal or Sri Lanka. Many of the claims made by Hari Sen, the composer of the Prayag Prashasti, are highly exaggerated, but many of the claims are also genuine. The military foundations of the Gupta Empire were laid by Samudragupta. His successors built upon these foundations. Chandragupta II. The Gupta inscription mentions Chandragupta II as Samudragupta's successor. But on the basis of literary sources, some copper coins and inscriptions, it is suggested that the successor was Samudragupta's other son Ramgupta. Vishakha Datta's drama Devi Chandraguptam mentions that Chandragupta II killed his elder brother Ramgupta. He did this because Ramgupta was facing defeat at the hands of the Sakas, and in order to save the kingdom, he had agreed to surrender his wife to the Saka king. Chandragupta protested and went to the Saka camp in the disguise of the queen Dhruva Devi. He was successful against the Saka king, but as a result of the subsequent hostility with his brother, he killed him and married his wife Dhruva Devi. Certain other texts like the Harcharit, Kavya Mimamsa, etc. also refer to this episode. Some copper coins bearing the name Ramgupta have also been found, and inscriptions on the pedestals of some Jain images found at Vidisha bear the name Maharaja Ramgupta. Similarly, Dhruva Devi is described as the mother of Govindagupta, Chandragupta's son, in Vaishali Chel. We can say that Chandragupta ascended the throne at a time when there were problems emerging again, and he had to lead military campaign to establish Gupta supremacy once again. He entered into matrimonial alliances with the Naga by marrying princes Kubarna Nag, whose daughter Prabhavati was later on married to Rudra Sen II of the Vakataka family. Though there is no record like the Prayag Prashasti to describe the events of his reign, we do get information about Chandragupta's campaign and successes from certain inscriptions, literary sources and coins. He defeated the Saka king Rudradaman III and annexed his kingdom. This brought an end to the Saka Kshatrap rule in western India and added the regions of Gujarat, Kathiawar and West Malwa to the Gupta Empire. The details of Chandragupta II's campaign against the Sakas are not known. His matrimonial alliances with the Vakatakas and the Nagas must have been of tremendous significance in his preparations for the campaigns. 2 inscriptions at the Udayagiri caves near Sanchi and 1 inscription at Sanchi, all referring to Chandragupta II and to his subordinate rulers and military officials, also suggest that he was present in eastern Malwa for some time preparing for the campaign. 1 inscription describes him as desirous of conquering the whole earth. That his conquest of the territories of the Sakas was complete is proved beyond doubt, because we no longer find any Saka coins minted after this period, although Saka coins were being minted without a break for almost 400 years previously. The Guptas from the time of Chandragupta started minting Saka type silver coins for this region. They only added their own distinct symbols on these coins, otherwise the coins were like Saka coins in circulation till then. This definitely shows that the Saka areas came within the control of Chandragupta II. The success of Chandragupta II against the Sakas seems to have developed later on into the tradition of Sakari Vikramaditya, that is, of Vikramaditya, who was an enemy of the Sakas. King Chandra, whose exploits have been mentioned in the Maharauli Iron Pillar inscription, which is located in the Qutub Minar complex in Delhi, is identified by many scholars with Chandragupta II. According to this inscription, Chandra crossed the Sindhu region of 7 rivers and defeated Vallikas identified with Bactria. Some scholars identify Chandragupta II with the hero of Kalidasa's work, Raghuvamsa, because Raghu's exploits appear comparable with those of Chandragupta. The Mehrauli inscription also mentions Chandragupta's victory over enemies from Vang, that is Bengal. On the basis of these evidences, it can be suggested that Chandragupta II was able to extend the frontiers of the Gupta Empire to western, northwestern and eastern India. An important incident which took place during this period was the visit of Fa Hien, a Chinese pilgrim who came to India in search of Buddhist texts. In his memoirs, he has given a vivid description of the places he visited and certain social and administrative aspects related to them. However, he does not mention the name of the king in his accounts. But he speaks highly of the king of the Madhya Desh, the region which was directly ruled by the Gupta monarch in this period, under whom the people were prosperous and happy. Chandragupta II is also known for his patronage to men of letters, and he ruled till about 415 to 416 AD. Kumaragupta I. Chandragupta II was succeeded by his son Kumaragupta. We get information about him from certain inscriptions and coins. For example, the earliest known inscription of this period is from Bilsad, Itar district, which is dated 415 AD. Gupta era 96. The Karmdand Faizabad inscription of Kumaragupta's minister 436 AD mentions his fame having spread to the four oceans. A stone inscription from Mandasore 436 AD mentions Kumaragupta as reigning over the whole earth. The Damodar copper plate 433 AD to 447 AD refer to him as Maharaja de Raj and show that he himself appointed the governor Uparika of Pundravardhan, Bhukti or province, being the biggest administrative division in the empire. The last known date of Kumaragupta is from a silver coin dated 455 AD, Gupta era 136. The wide area over which his inscriptions are distributed indicates that he ruled over Magध and Bengal in the east and Gujarat in the west. It has been suggested that towards the last year of his reign, the Gupta Empire faced foreign invasions, which was checked by the efforts of his son Skand Gupta. He maintained cordial relations with the Vakatakas, which had been established through matrimonial alliances earlier. Skandagupta, who succeeded Kumaragupta I, was perhaps the last powerful Gupta monarch. To consolidate his position, he had to fight the Pushyamitras, and the country faced Hun invasion from across the frontiers in the northwest. However, Skandagupta was successful in throwing the Huns back. It appears that these wars adversely affected the economy of the empire, and the gold coinage of Skandagupta bears testimony to that. In comparison to the gold coins of the earlier rulers, the types of gold coins minted by Skandagupta were limited. In addition to following the earlier systems of weights, he introduced a new, heavier weight system for gold coins, but generally his coins had less gold in them than earlier coins. Moreover, he appears to have been the last Gupta ruler to mint silver coins in Western India. However, the Junagadh inscription of his reign tells us about the public works undertaken during his times. The Sudarshan Lake, originally built during the modern times, burst due to the excessive rains, and in the early part of his rule, his governor Pranadatta got it repaired. This indicates that the state undertook the task of public works. The last known date of the Skandagupta is 467 AD from his silver coins. Gupta rulers after Skandagupta. It is not very clear in what order the successors of the Skandagupta ruled. Skandagupta himself may not have been the rightful heir to the throne, and therefore he had to fight over contenders to the throne. This may be the reason why a seal inscription traces the line of Gupta rulers after Skandagupta from Kumaragupta I and his son Purugupta and not Skandagupta. Secondly, it is probable that the division of the Gupta Empire into many parts already began towards the close of Skandagupta's reign. Thus, an inscription from the western Malwa recorded in the last year of Skandagupta does not refer to him, but to some other rulers beginning with Chandragupta II. Some of the successors of Skandagupta mentioned in inscriptions were Buddhagupta, Vinayagupta, Bhanugupta, Narsimhagupta, Baladitya, Kumaragupta II, and Vismigupta. It is unlikely that all of them ruled over a vast empire as Chandragupta II and Kumaragupta I had done in an earlier period. The Guptas continued to rule till about 550 AD, but by then their power had already become very insignificant. Disintegration of the Gupta Empire. In this section, we deal with some of the factors that contribute towards the disintegration of the Gupta Empire. Hun invasion. From the time of Kumaragupta I, the northwestern borders had been threatened by the Hunas, a Central Asian tribe, which was successfully moving in different directions and was establishing pockets of rule in northwestern, northern, and western India. But their attacks were repulsed during that period. However, towards the end of the 5th century AD, the Hun chief Toramana was able to establish his authority over large parts of western India and in central India. Mihirakul, his son, further extended the dominions. Thus, the Hun attacks caused a major blow to the Gupta authority, particularly in northern and western regions of the empire. Administrative weaknesses. The policy adopted by the Guptas in the conquered areas was to restore the authority of the local chiefs or kings once they had accepted Gupta suzerainty. In fact, no efforts were made to impose a strict and effective control over these regions. And it was natural that whenever there was a crisis of succession or a weak monarchy within the Gupta Empire, these local chiefs would re-establish their independent authority. This created a problem for almost every Gupta king who had to reinforce his authority. The constant military campaigns were a strain on the state treasury. Towards the end of the 5th century AD and beginning of 6th century AD, taking advantage of the weak Gupta emperors, many regional powers reasserted their authority and in due course declared their independence. Besides these, there were many other reasons which contributed to the decline of Guptas. For example, it has been argued that the Guptas issued land grants to the Brahman Donis and in this process surrendered the revenue and administrative rights in favor of the Donis. Further, it is believed that the Samanta system, in which the Samantas or minor rulers who ruled as subordinates to the central authority, started to consolidate itself in Gupta period. This is also believed to be the reason why Gupta administrative structure became so loose. There is diversity of opinion as to how the system originated and regarding the details of the system, but the presence of many Samantas within the empire does show that they wielded power almost independently of the Gupta authority. There is no doubt that divisions within the imperial family, concentration of power in the hands of local chiefs or governors, loose administrative structure of the empire, etc., contributed towards the disintegration of the Gupta Empire. Let us sum up. In the beginning of the 4th century AD, North India was divided into many small kingdoms and chiefdoms. These kingdoms in different regions often fought with each other. It was in such a political situation that the Gupta dynasty gained power and gradually established an empire. The kings of this dynasty undertook extensive military campaigns in different regions. It was under Samudragupta and Chandragupta II that the imperial power was properly consolidated. The Guptas remained a strong force till the time of Skandagupta, but after him, the process of disintegration started. Various factors like foreign invasion, dissension within the ruling family, reassertion of power by local chiefs, administrative weakness, etc., hastened the process of disintegration.